broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Sleepyheads, welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV Sleepy Hollow After Show. I am your host, Zach Wilson. I have with me today Jacque Borowski.
Holla.
And we are going to recapping episode 212, Paradise Lost. We have stuck Stephen Lemieux in the naughty box. Didn't watch the episode.
I'm in the naughty box. I didn't have a chance to watch the episode.
Can you guys actually hear me? I can't hear myself.
I can hear you.
Okay. I like that Steve's, that the engineer booth is now the naughty box.
He will be chiming in with random comments, but know that he is ill.
And
however,
if you guys miss Matt Lieberman, you should tweet at him, at Matt Lieberman, and let him know how much you miss him.
Yes, please do.
Be like, yo, Matt, we love you.
Yeah, dude, tell him how much you miss and love him. He'll be sure to respond to that.
He will certainly respond to that.
Anyway, let's get lost in paradise, which is going to be really hard on Sleepy Hollow.
I do want to give a shout out to Chloe, who tweeted me and said that she's watching live. Hi. We love it when you can watch live. This is a late show, but next week, or not next week, because next week it's on hiatus, then it's back the week of the 19th.
Are we on hiatus?
Yeah.
I can't even keep track. Why are we back this week?
That is a question that lots of fans have.
Anyway,
but we're back the 19th. We'll be at 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, we'll be moving up to 8 p.m. Pacific time. Still on Tuesdays. So 5 p.m. Eastern time. So you guys can tune in and join us at a normal person's hour. Let's do it this week. And if you're not watching live, you can watch live on YouTube, which is great fun. And
there's a chat roll there.
Yeah,
I hear.
You can chat with other fans.
Yeah, Ronnie J in the chat roll says, haha, Katrina liked that Demon D. That's why she's not trying to make it work with Ichabod.
Whoa! Later. Oh. Not that exact thing, but we'll talk about it. But so we open on right after the explosive mid-season finale. And by explosive, I mean Moloch exploded. That was what was explosive. And everyone's like...
Explosive like a turd dropping into a toilet.
Look, we're not going to sugarcoat it. Like, Sleepy Hollow has a huge uphill climb if they're going to get back into our good graces. The last half season was rough at best.
You know what I wish they would have done? I mean, we've already said that killing Moloch off seemed weird because that was their whole end game. But
you killed your season, not your season, but your series big bad halfway. Not even at the end of season 2, halfway through season 2.
Well, I thought about Steve when the angel came on, and I was like, Steve is going to be so happy. Only Steve didn't watch this episode.
Yeah, but I gotta say though that hearing that, I'm like, oh, so they did what I thought they'd do. But to the same token, I'm actually glad that they killed off Moloch in that episode.
Oh,
I'm so behind. We renovated all these studios. You can see our brand new studios here that we built over the New Year's break and Christmas break. But I will say is that what they needed was a mulligan, because our joke was that, oh my God, what are they going to do? Let's find a way to get Moloch out of purgatory. I mean, that was a running joke.
Yeah.
So the fact that they killed Moloch, we can get a new big baddie. We can get a new storyline that can still have to do with the end of days. And I kind of like that. I like that they're realizing, oh, maybe we need something new instead of the same old storyline. And Katrina's probably still useless. I don't know.
She is.
She's
don't worry.
Different. She's not useless. She's just different.
She's just different.
Yeah. Katrina in this episode does more stuff. She actually casts some.
I had fans, and I had a friend of mine who's like a loyal watcher of this podcast, and I love that she watches our podcast. But she was like, Katrina did something almost maybe nope. That was like her string of texts to me. And then people were tweeting at me saying the same thing. And when I watched the episode, I was like, no, I mean, it's the same thing where it's like you set up this, do something, but it never turns out okay.
Yeah, I mean, she is casting some spells at this point. Like, she's working on something big.
But then they don't even matter because she let Headless go. So it's like you set up this whole thing that doesn't even matter. It's like making that berry juice for 10 hours to write a letter that's just like, hey, blah, blah, blah.
Well, let's start, like, because we jumped 6 weeks.
Yes,
They're like, what
did.
happened? Henry's gone. Moloch's dead. I passed out for like a couple hours. And so I like jumping 6 weeks. I like the places that we find them in.
Yes.
At the very, that was good. That was cool. That like Ichabod and Abby are like still like trying to find like he's like looking for brimstone, like smelling fruit. I smell brimstone in this peach, and then cuts it open. There's worms everywhere. I like that. It's that like it's the home from war syndrome of like, what do I do now?
I'm still looking for evil everywhere, and it might just be rotted fruit, but it might be something we actually don't know. But like hopefully that's an avenue they'll go down, because they talk about the tree that they pluck the fruit from and how it's like in a certain area.
Well, I think that was what led us to Orion. No. I assumed that was part of Orion.
I didn't make that connection. So if it's true, I apologize because I didn't make that connection.
Maybe I misconnected. It's possible, because I guess brimstone could, in my mind, comes from an angel, like brimstone. And then they followed the trail, and that's when they found Orion. But
they found those demons, but for some reason in my like notes and recollection, I didn't make that connection, but I guess it could be like that the rotted fruit led them to the demons. I was just like, oh, rotted fruit, oh, demons.
They did piece together a puzzle, and they did discover, oh, there is still evil out there, because Purgatory exploded and like lots of stuff got out. So now they got to deal with like cleanup, basically.
That was a cool shot too. I like the demons. The demons that they had in that barn situation. That
reminded me so much of Buffy.
Yes.
The demons were so Buffy in this episode. They like everything, the design, like the fact that they were there, like trying to find their master, casting spells with blood. It was straight out of Buffy.
Yeah, it was straight out of Buffy, and it's interesting because I will say, I love this new character, Orion. I love him. He has to come back. We've had too many characters that people are like, this character's really interesting, like Caroline and Joe Corbin, where then you're like, this character's really interesting. Let's him back again.
I don't know that he is coming back. Like, his case was kind of solved. Like, he flies off into the sunset. And just like Joe Corbin, he might just...
He's so fascinating and complex, and like actually for him, unlike the other characters, he has a tie, and like for me, that was another that was a classic. Like, it was a cross between, I was like, this is so like Xena Warrior Princess meets Buffy. Like that kind of like badass, like random character. I was like, they need this. They have too many normal people on the team.
Yes.
Katrina aside, who's supposed to be a witch, like they have too many other people who don't have like supernatural powers. It would really help them out to have somebody like that. And I think it's really interesting when you put someone in there who
isn't just not just like has power.
I know there's the argument that, oh, like we found out he was bad. But this is the same argument I compared him to Loki when I was watching this, because it's the same argument I gave for Loki, which is like what Loki really is in that first Thor movie is he just wanted to be loved, and he just wanted to prove to his family that he was loyal. And so in that, it's like, yeah, he did some bad things. He destroyed an entire planet. Sorry, spoilers for the first Thor movie if you haven't seen it. But his were actually not that bad when you think about it. And maybe like I've had a friend be like, but he did terrible things, but it's like his intentions weren't bad. And I think his intentions, like maybe Orion sees it as getting back into God's good grace if he's able to like for humanity, and he saw getting rid of all the bad things in humanity as like a positive. But just because he's misguided, I was so mad because Abby kept calling him loony at the end, or a zealot, and I'm like, yeah, he is, but like he's misguided, and he's been living in purgatory for 200 years. We know he's even older than that.
He's got eyes that scream crazy, though. Like, the instant he shows up, I'm like, this guy's nuts. Like, his eyes are so wide and so frightening.
I liked that, though, because I felt like it gave him that other vibe. Like, he's just, I felt like that was more of, I'm now on this planet Earth, like I've been in purgatory for so long, I'm just like fascinated by everything here, and kind of feeling weird about it because he hasn't been there in a very long time.
In the chat we have Amunley25 saying, with the rotten fruit, maybe it's pestilence they're setting up for. And then Francis Rose says, Katrina has to be the ultimate baddie, demon hellshard. If they end the season with that surprise, then she'd be boring, but at least confirmed evil boring.
See, I like that.
She has to, see, I would want her to be evil and therefore not be boring.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into Katrina's stuff. I want to finish talking about Orion while we're talking on him. I like angels. Like, I hosted a show here at AfterBuzz for Dominion, like Sci-Fi's angel show. I love that lore, but there's something I'm not sure I like it on this show. Between demons being involved and angels being involved, because demons can come from almost anything, any mythology. Giving us angels, like classic looking biblical style angels, which is basically what we got here, means that we're operating within a more Christian mythology, like Judeo-Christian mythology. And I don't know that I wanted that for Sleepy Hollow. I love how much different mythology it comes in, and because this character, like they talk about God, and like granted that's a question you have to ask when there's an angel around, but that's why I don't like it. It's like I don't like that has to be a question. I don't. But
is it a confirmed angel? That's the thing. Is like I don't believe that this character is an angel. I think it's probably a character that we're introduced to as Ichabod and Abby are so inducted into all these mythos that I think it's easy to trick them into believing that. Because it's mythology. So if the angel turns out to be something like a necromancer, someone who's a little bit, who's just using the guise of an angel, like the archangel's guise, to fool them, I think that could lead to a very interesting story.
I think, though, I mean, to be honest, they set up the angel thing from the beginning of season 1. Didn't they?
Did they?
They talked about...
They mentioned angels.
They mentioned angels
reading Bibles, so.
In season 1. And I mean, the other thing is they really are going for the book of Revelations here. We have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Fair enough.
We have, and that's the only reason I don't mind it. It's not, and again, this show gets a lot of comparison to Buffy, but it's not a Buffy apocalypse where Buffy apocalypse comes from all kinds of different places, so it doesn't really matter. But being so close to the book of Revelation, you almost are setting it up to like bring in that kind of a character.
It's true. Okay, I'll concede that. It just, there's something about it that still feels wrong to me, and I say that as somebody who really likes angel lore. But he's a good character. I guess what I'm worried about is I don't want like flocks of angels. I don't want Michael and like...
Yeah, I see what you say.
Like Gabriel. I don't want that all coming in. Yeah. Like I like having one running around.
Yeah.
And I think they sort of set that rule when he's like, I am the only one who decided who would come down from there.
Yeah.
That's fine. Let's keep it at him. I did really like his weapon though.
His Xena warrior princess chakra.
Yeah,
chakram or whatever they called it.
I thought of it. It's like, oh, so this is like what we think of angels as having a halo. It's because they carry these crazy disc weapons that they throw and kill people because it glowed, just like we had a stereotypical halo.
I did like that too. I think, along your lines of saying, okay, I don't want a flock of angels to come down, he kind of sets it up. You're right. He sets it up where that's not going to happen, because he talks to Abby about saying, well, you were just supposed to stand by the sidelines and watch this, and you decided to come in. I feel like angels would have the same kind of like position, and he made that decision.
Angels are there to bear witness.
Yes.
That was a very interesting point that I don't think the show has ever brought up.
Yeah.
Is that the word witness is not soldier.
Right.
Those are very, very different things.
Yeah.
They were meant to witness the apocalypse, not be involved in it.
Yeah.
They were just supposed to watch the world burn.
And so what's interesting is like what repercussions or what actions does that put into motion then? Because the fact they're not just sitting by and watching it, that they're actually involved. Side note, I'm shipping what I like to call Abrian. I hear the actual ship name is Orabi, but I like Abrian.
Or Abby sounds like she's like, it's like, or Abby. Jenny or Abby.
I like Abrian. I feel like Orion has abs, so it kind of like fits in there, and so does Abby. But and now I've had fans tweet at me being like, "You're jumping the ICHABOD ship," but no, this is the long game. So like, he's like this troubled character. She's in love with him, and they have kind of like a tryst, and then somewhere along the lines, Katrina becomes evil, and then Ichabod is left by himself, and then he realizes he's in love with Abby, so then he has to fight for Abby while she's in a relationship with this other angel guy.
Interesting.
Yep, I did that. A lot of thinking on that.
I feel like you're winging it.
Oh, Punjar. How much do we have in the Punjar?
I don't know, we're at like $36 or something.
Oh my gosh. Okay, also, Matt Lieberman has to come back because he owes us money to put into the Punjar.
We'll get, he owes what he owes. He's just as guilty as anybody else. Maybe not as guilty as Stephen, but just as guilty as the other two of us.
Nobody's as guilty as I am.
Never.
No. I do like, okay, another random side note. I liked it when Abby asked the angel.
I did like that. I like that he sort of just ignored her questions. Like, he's like, I can't do that. Like, I can't give you those answers.
But I also like the idea that it's like, his response was basically like he wouldn't really understand either. Like he was saying God isn't, it's like a gender, it's not like a person, you know? And so that was good because it leaves everything open-ended. So it's like the show's not, like even though it brought in an angel, it's not answering those questions.
Yeah, and it's good they got it out of the way so we can just move on and not worry about that now. Overall, Orion is a good, I think, a good addition. I hope that they don't just like finish it at this.
I hope they don't Caroline him out.
Yeah, where he just like literally flies away and never comes back. I think he has to be part of our ongoing story.
Yeah.
Because the big thing now, our big bad, effectively from here on out, is Abraham / Headless. And the question that we're laid with is, are those two one and the same?
Yes.
Katrina is very much on the boat, on the ship, if you will. That
the good
Abraham, Abraham is not the horseman of the apocalypse. That's the demon that he has inside of him or combined with him. Whereas Ichabod is like, no, he accepted the role, and that makes him the horseman. Like, they're not two different things.
I do like this final, like, this conflict that's built up between Ichabod and Katrina, and not just because I'm an ICHABOD shipper, but I like it because it's interesting. It's like she has done all these terrible until this point. He's kind of hemmed and hawed, and this is the first episode where he's really laid into her, been like, no, we need to seriously like think about our relationship, and you can't just go ahead and do stuff for the group.
Way to grow a pair, Ichabod.
Right, exactly.
Like, stand up for yourself. And like, no, he's very much making his own calls in this episode. Like, even he's not, he absolutely is. His call is that he needs time to consider.
Yeah.
Because it's that is a big decision. It is not to be made lightly, as he says. Like, to kill a person should never be something that you're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We should do that. Oh, this dude just showed up out of the woods, wants to kill this guy.
Especially
sounds
because
legit.
it's complex because they were friends with Abraham in the past, but he's become something evil, and then it's that same question that we went to with Henry is, can this character be redeemed, even though they've done some ultimately evil things? What happened to Henry? I mean, is he just crying next to a dollhouse right now? I mean, I have no idea.
He's wandering the earth, eating sins from all different countries and continents.
Maybe he's on vacation.
He's
like,
in Malibu,
he really needed
just like
a vacation.
Woo!
It was like, just killed Moloch.
I just killed Moloch. Another mojito. Oh my God. But yeah, so with but the big question is like, can you? Because the way I see it with Abraham / Headless, Abraham and or Headless, is that it really places the question of life is like who you are based on your choices in life, or just like who you are to begin with. Is he the horseman of death because that's just who he was set to become?
Predestined, yeah.
He was predestined. That was his journey, was that his jealousy would ultimately was such a great part of him that it consumed him and made him the horseman of death. That was what his life was meant for. Or is it that something outside of him got into what he's doing and destroyed him and forced him to become this thing?
The only thing I don't like about this idea of separating Abraham from the demon is the fact that then if that happens, like, would we effectively just lose Neil Jackson as an actor? Because I do think there is this fascinating relationship between Katrina and Abraham, and they have real chemistry. Like I mean,
we wouldn't lose him if Katrina and Abraham run off together.
That's true. That's true. And I think it is interesting his personal struggle, and he plays evil so well. It's just so interesting to me, like the level of I don't know what I was gonna say. Oh, now I'm just talking.
Yeah. My thoughts on it is basically, I agree. I don't want this to be successful either, because we just lost Moloch, who granted had become sort of a boring outside force.
Right.
The Horseman is such a great character.
Yes.
And it's Sleepy Hollow.
It's Sleepy Hollow.
It's the legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Horseman.
It is about the Horseman. It's about the Headless Horseman. Instant it's not about him, I start to lose interest, because that's why I tuned into this show.
Yes.
Because that's the legend.
Yes.
It's about the Headless Horseman.
Yes.
So what if the idea is that the prophecy about Moloch taking over the world, it wasn't Moloch per se. I'd have to go back and relook at the text, the language of the prophecy. What if it's not about him destroying the world? What if it's about Abraham destroying the world, that he becomes the new leader of purgatory and hell and all of this stuff, and he is the one that we have to worry about this whole time? That would be a cool twist, because we were like, oh, they solved the problem.
I like that idea. And on a side note, if we're saying, okay, Katrina's gonna eventually end up with Abraham, she has it's a minor thing, but she has made an outfit change in the 6 weeks that we jumped ahead.
I like the new outfit.
She's gone from her corset top to this black more witch looking costume, which I actually approve of, because not in she's sexy sort of way, but in
which she is.
But in this makes sense for her character sort of way. Like that it's making her look like a force to be reckoned with, versus looking like somebody who's fragile and lost.
Yeah, I like it. It has a good balance of the 1700s vibe there, and it just looks witchy. It just does.
Which my favorite question though was, after all this, I was like, they have to explain where they got this outfit, because it doesn't make any sense, because it's not related to anything.
She conjured it, clearly. All the good magic she does off screen.
It's true.
She likes put some raven's eggs and frog newt eyes or whatever, like in a
and
pot,
I was also
stirs
like,
it.
how come she gets to live at the cabin and poor Ichabod has to sleep in the police department basement library situation?
The guy always gets the couch. It's the way it works.
Yeah, but he's one of the witnesses.
And so he stays in the library where he can do more research.
That's true.
Um,
I do like that he said that he needed to get a job. I hope that's what we're missing a lot is and they tried to do it in this episode, and to me it just didn't work, is the modern jokes about Ichabod encountering the world. Poo-pooing at the fact that the idea that organic fruit is like a thing.
that farm to table is like a concern.
Right.
Like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we got a little bit of it.
I
We
would
could
like to
use
see
more.
him do like a modern job, though. You know, that would be really interesting. It's the most fun when he's fish out of water.
Yeah. What did you think of the scene? Because I liked Ichabod's sort of like standing up for himself and like trying to figure out where they stand at this point.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the scene at the end of the episode where the two of them are standing and he's like basically like one step at a time? Like I'm not ready for that.
I feel at this point you're just like yanking the audience's chain. Like they're doing this thing where it's like, we know this is headed for a breakup. Why isn't he just saying it?
Why? Yeah, I guess it become more. They're going faster with stuff like that, with the relationship storylines and all that stuff. It happens faster, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? You're right. This is very much like we're drawing it out. Like we know where you're heading.
And to be honest, I feel, and again, not just as an Ichabod shipper, but I feel like anytime you make a real decision in writing, that's when you get the audience. Like, I was so mad, not to jump ahead, I was so mad when Irving was killed in the last episode, and it's like, while that was annoying and I don't think it had a good build up to that, it was still like, I respect that as a strong decision.
Yeah. But it's not, and we'll get into that.
Yes, we'll get into that.
I mean, you've seen the episode.
He had to because they gave him no payoff.
Yeah,
it was like,
we'll get into it. I want to finish with Ichabod and Katrina so that we can move on and get to Jenny and Holly and all that stuff. But my thoughts on that last scene, basically, I laughed. Because basically Katrina like puts her hand on his shoulder and she's like, Katrina just wants a piece of the Ichabod.
She wants everything though. I'm like, it's not fair. You want Abraham, you want Ichabod, like you want your baby.
Well, at that moment, all she wants is a sweet, sweet piece.
She wants everything.
She wants that Ichabod.
Oh jeez. We'll
Right,
put that in the pun jar.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the pun jar.
But yeah, but it was a good moment, I guess. But I hope that we don't have to like wait 3 more episodes before if they're gonna end it. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that would be a strong choice. It would be an interesting choice, and that's what this show seems to be lacking.
Yeah.
And so we get that we're dealing with another sort of relationship. What's happening here with Jenny and Holly? Which, hold on, because I got ahead of myself. We're gonna get into that. I want to throw it over to Stephen in the booth to give us some of the reviews that we might have.
We got some reviews.
Yeah,
you guys want to hear about some reviews?
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for reviewing.
Let's do some reviews. Guys, go to iTunes. Give us 5 stars. 5 stars keeps the lights on here at AfterBuzz TV, and the new lights that are actually on the floor. If you look at the studio right there, we got some lights on the floor. Yeah,
Boom,
fun, right?
boom, boom.
But if you are listening on iTunes or whether you are watching on YouTube, you need to go to iTunes, search Sleepy Hollow AfterBuzz TV, and go ahead and give us a review, and we will give you a shout out on air. We are at 198 ratings right now, which we got to get that to 200 by tomorrow. Come on, guys. So shout out to Leslie A90. During this hiatus, I've been suffering from Sleepy Hollow withdrawal, and because of this show and now in love with it. Your team is very enthusiastic and passionate. Your theories or insights are well developed, and I love having to geek out with you guys over my favorite TV shows. Thank you, Leslie. Excuse me. Seriously, 5 stars by Anga Johnzy. Dope. That's it. All right.
I liked that review. I was like, short, sweet, to the point.
All right, we got 4 stars from Hot Zombie Tits. All right. Podcast is pretty entertaining. Good addition to watching the show. The hosts seem to have good chemistry and can banter well, but that Sleepington Abbey is a bit much, a bit too scandalous, as the host would say many, many times over in annoying voices.
Scandalous.
I actually kind of agree with that. So we're not doing Sleepington. And something else that's maybe actually funny.
And not offensive to British people.
And something that all of us can do and not
All
just
the
be
British
schooled by
people are
Matt Lieberman.
crying.
If Matt Lieberman decides that he loves you guys and doesn't hate you. Standing ovation by TV Juristi. I gave you a standing ovation in my head
Jurist.
when you
TV
made the
Jurist.
point that the show has cannibalized its premise this season. That's the perfect soundbite explanation for the problem with that is that this season, I miss season 1 so much. It's such a fun and unique show. Anyway, great podcast. And I think the last one's this one, which is by Dothel. You guys are absolutely correct. I'm so almost done with it too. I don't know what the writers are doing. It's such a bad episode. I didn't like the actors so much. I would have been done. I feel sorry for the actors. This is not what they were sold. You know, they were sold a series that they're getting paid to film and be working actors on.
Don't
so
feel bad for them.
That's what they were sold.
Yeah.
Feel bad for us, the viewers, if a show that has so much potential does not live up to it. I think it can get there. I really do. I think they were just kind of in a transitional period for this season, and they really need to get their bearings. So the second half of this season should really kind of be amazing. I'm hoping that's what I really, with this mulligan of the Angels and things like that, you know.
Well, we had a lot of. This was back to the normal pacing, I feel, that Sleepy Hollow usually is, where you're like, oh my gosh, there are so many things happening and like everything's starting all at once. I like that. That's what we like about Sleepy Hollow, is that it has a quick pace. Before, it was like so droning on because they were waiting for Moloch to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And you know who might make baby, or probably won't? I don't know. That was just my attempt at a weird transition.
Abraham and Katrina?
I was going to say Jenny and Holly.
Oh.
Because they're doing some weird flirting in this episode.
Well, had this transition, pulling Holly away from the initial planned love triangle with the sisters, which is just it's such a rude cliche. It's like, don't do that. And now they're setting him up, and they have this like scene where he just comes full out on being jealous of her hitting on the bartender. Which I thought was cute. I thought it was cute. Even
she
though
got all dolled up. Like, when has Jenny ever been dolled up on this show?
I know.
And she gets ditched at the bar. And I feel the show needs a pun jar that needs to pay in, because they made a wing joke.
Yes, they did.
She needs a wing woman. I'm
Yes.
dealing with my own winged situation.
Yeah.
Ugh. No, kudos to the show. But we are not paying in for that.
No,
That's
we're not
your
paying
problem. And they go off and they're like Jenny gets the call and she's like, oh, Angel of the Apocalypse. Should probably deal with that. And so she calls in Holly. I would think maybe not call him into the bar. Maybe not call your ex into the bar where you're trying to flirt with the bartender. That may not have been the best plan. Maybe go elsewhere.
I think she, though, erroneously believed that he was just over her.
Fair enough.
So I think she didn't really think anything of it at all.
Yeah. And she brings him in for work, basically.
Zog?
Something like that.
Yeah. It tracks demons when you crack it open, and it has a
Eggnog.
magic ball inside.
Yeah, it has a magical glowing ball hidden in the clay, which I liked that.
I
That
did
was a
like
cool
that.
reveal.
I was like, he found the...
Basically, where he could have dropped it in water and just heard what it was saying.
That is also true.
Anyway, but because I've heard that story before of like hiding valuable things in clay, in useless clay pots. It's a great thing. Like it happens all the time, and it's perfect because like, what are these? How do we read this thing? What do we do with it?
Right.
Taking it in the sunlight, the moonlight, like nothing's happening. Oh, smash. Maybe there would have been a better way to do that where you don't destroy an ancient clay thing. Like, maybe you could have gotten a knife and like cut it open.
That's not Holly, though. He doesn't think with his head. He just doesn't.
I mean, it would have been valuable. He's always like collecting these things. Like, just the pieces of it.
Yeah, but
like,
he lives on a dock. Let's remember that when we think about decisions.
He lives
he's
on
made.
a dock on the Hudson River. Like, the only place that there's water in Sleepy Hollow, because they were clearly not at like a lake, they were at a river. That's the Hudson. The Hudson is not a livable river. This is not like down South Mississippi where it's warm all the time or anything like that.
Freaking cold in New
He
York.
went down to the river to play.
Oh no.
No. No, but like the Hudson right now, the Hudson is frozen over. It is cold enough in New York. The Hudson is frozen over. His boat, his home is frozen. And he
Holly
is living.
is sleeping in an ice bed.
Oh, poor old Holly. But yeah, so they eventually figured out I liked the sequence where they track them down. And they find out that Headless has returned to the demons because he's now like wants to like lead them, I guess. Like this is the beginning of his army.
They want a leader. They basically need a leader. They're like lemmings. They need a leader to exist, we learn. And he wants to lead them. I mean, he's kind of an egomaniac, so
Yeah, I mean, he has some needs to be filled, and he can only fill them with demon warrior lemmings, whatever. Or Katrina, depending
depending on your reading of the episode.
Same thing. But anyway, lastly, let's talk about Irving.
Irving!
I mean, okay.
He's back!
I'm really glad he's back.
But we knew he had to be back because you did him till that point.
His death was so dull. Of course he was coming back.
Yeah.
But that just makes it, the fact that it only took him one episode to show up back in Sleepy Hollow. It's not even like he woke up in some other place.
But you know what it is? The fans would riot if they knew Orlando Jones like was just written off the show. The fans would be so PO'd.
But like that's something big like that shouldn't piss anyone off. Like it should make you feel emotion and be disappointed and be like, no, but you should be like, that was cool, that was crazy story. Making him come back after one episode, it almost like ruins any emotion that might have had.
Well, I mean, the whole setup was weird anyway because they had sidelined Irving for so long. And then they bring him in with a vengeance in this one episode. It's just that same like odd pacing where you're like,
he got really cool for 2 episodes.
Right. You didn't set this up. You gave him like no lines and nothing to do for most of the season and then let him come in this episode to do something really cool. And it's like then instead of like doing that, like, so they didn't do the payoff before and they didn't do the payoff after because they didn't give him enough time to come back.
Him coming back was like, oh, cool.
I do like though that we don't know like why he's back or what happened exactly. I mean, we know that like my guess was that he was the avatar for death, but he has like no idea where he's at. He asked the cashier if he's in heaven or hell, and the guy's like, no man, it's just Sleepy Hollow.
I did like that line.
Love that
was funny. But I wonder if there's a reason he went for the milk.
Yeah.
It feels like a very...
Why didn't he go for the 7-Up? I don't know.
Well done. I almost feel like that deserves a jar, but it's not technically a pun.
It's not a pun, but we'll give you money, guys. We'll give you money. 37.
Yeah, we'll just say that at 37. Maybe it's because milk is like infants get.
Yeah.
There's something to like him being like reborn to the earth. He comes in like with no shoes, like so he has to have been through some stuff.
Right. And he's all dusty. He's like covered in like dust or something.
Maybe because he technically like he died and he went to purgatory and then purgatory exploded.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that sent him back to earth.
Now that's fascinating because I want to know who else has been leaked out of purgatory.
Well, that's what we're gonna see in like the remaining episodes.
Yeah.
Is we're gonna get that week to week like here's another demon that escaped, and hopefully it doesn't get too episodic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's move into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
But yeah, so I do think that that's going to be our sort of week to week is like mopping up Purgatory Explosion, while and also trying to prevent those demons from joining Headless's army.
I feel like this would have been better. We talked earlier this season about the pacing of the season and saying that there were episodes that you definitely could find. I know they wanted to do a big death like Moloch as like a mid-season cliffhanger, but it's like if you would have done that sooner and moved up this like demons leaking from purgatory thing, that's way more interesting and it fits in with our bigger picture.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, there's a lot of potential that could come up now, because there's so many pieces out there that we can find. Like, maybe Joe Corbin's dealing with some stuff. I don't know. Maybe Frankenstein is dealing with some stuff.
Where are you, Frankenstein?
I mean, maybe what we get at the end of this season is like some epic, like two-sided like battle where Headless has like various demons that from whatever that left like gathered around him, and we have our like weird people with like Irving with the sword of Methuselah and Frankenstein coming in out of nowhere, and maybe Joe Corbin comes back and turns into the Wendigo. This is never gonna happen, but I'm having fun with it.
Yes, but it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a prediction, but I like that next week we're getting back to the flashbacks, because I know that for season 1, that was the meat and potatoes of another thing that we really liked.
I watched on Hulu. I missed the next on.
There's a flashback to Abigail Adams.
Cool.
Played by Michelle Trachtenberg, who is Dawn on Buffy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, except
Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the Spy, Abigail Adams. But that should be interesting because I feel like we've been missing a lot of our flashbacks too this season.
Yeah, we've only got a couple.
And part of what made Sleepy Hollow interesting was you're like, whoa, like Henry is the horseman of death, and then horseman of war. Horseman of war. I'm so tired. And then they actually knew the Headless Horseman. Like those flashbacks and the Weeping Lady flashback, those flashbacks are so interesting because they reveal another like layer of the characters, another part of the story, and I'm really waiting for that.
I do think by season's end we will get one more horseman killed in one way or another. Pestilence would be a great place to start. Like, it would be great to see Pestilence. I think that's your season end cliffhanger of like another horseman has risen to destroy the world, and that's basically they're like, please renew. For us here at the Sleepy Hollow AfterBuzz show, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jacque Borowski, people want to keep up with you
at 123Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123JackieB, all one word, on Instagram, and I'm also doing the Gallivant after show on Sundays.
Cool. Stephen Lemieux, if the people want to send you hate tweets for not watching in time, where can they send those?
You can hate tweet me all you want to this beanie and hat. It's Zach's hat from the Agent Carter after show. You can check that out. That was actually really good. And you can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux. It's right at it. STPHENLEMIUX. And go to iTunes and go ahead and give us 5 stars and rating, and we'll get you a shout out next week.
Shout-outs for all. Guys, you can catch me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, ThatzachWilson, and a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. Agent Carter, as Steven said, we just did the premiere with Soup. Comes back this week. Whole bunch of shows. Helix starts up in a couple weeks. Guys, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Good night,
sleepyheads.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily